weigh-in this morning, Wexford's Waitak wows once again into the winner's circle for the first time in more than a year. Lance O'Sullivan will join us about that, and he may well have caught up with some good mates at a special jockey reunion at Tauranga as well. What comparison Chris Waller has made between his new star filly and Winx after conquering the Coolmore. Our riding ranks have been blessed with Northern Hemisphere talent this season. Emily hits the felt with a couple of them. A very good morning to you, the week after Champions Day and the week before the Oaks, of course, down at Trentham, but it's still been a great weekend of racing to rip into. As always, Emily Murphy's with me in studio, as is Jane Ivel. We still saw some really nice horses rolling around yesterday.
Of course, we had the highs of Champions Day last week, and this week we didn't quite have the level of Group 1s that we've seen, but there was still some great racing, some really good stories both here, and of course across the ditch, Jane, as well, some fabulous racing too. I
agree. I think that was the highlight of what we saw out of the weekend, was perhaps not the grandstand of grand finals like we saw on Champions Day, but what we did see was some really lovely racing stories, and that's what it's all about. We're going to touch on those throughout the show, but I thought there were some great moments right through the weekend, not only in New Zealand but Australia as well.
One of those stories was from the Japan Trophy and the winner Waitak, who hadn't found the winner's circle for more than a year, but boy did he do it in style.
Waitak is the one that I'm really mindful of, because you go back through the runs, the BCD group sprint was terrific. The way he finished it last time out as well at Alizé over 1600.
One thing for sure, Waitak is going to be finishing over the top of them. It's just Leroy Brown, if he gets a soft enough lead in front, she could steal it.
Ultimate Master, Japan Trophy. Ready, gates open, they're off. Walking out the Onassis, missed it by 5. First away, Leroy Brown. Herbert began quickly. Waitak settles back with quality time. Agon, and 4 lengths away. Last of all is Dionysus. 700 metres out in the Ultimate Master Japan Trophy. And Leroy Brown trying to break their hearts here. He led by 6 from Butterfield. 5 away, Herbert, Navigator. Then came Dark Destroyer, followed round by Has to Be a Winner. Well back is Agon. Waitak a mile off them here with quality time, and Dionysus. Leroy Brown, he's 4 lengths in front. Herbert's coming after him. Look at Waitak getting the best rails run through along the inside. He's dashing at them, Waitak. Out wider also Navigator. Wild Knight. Waitak through on the inside from Herbert. Out wide is Wild Knight. Oh, have a look at Waitak go with the, well, it's one of the best rides you'll ever see. Waitak won it second over Herbert. Third at the line, there's photos. What a win by Waitak.
Ryan Elliott's taken a leaf out of Blake Shin's book here, because we saw 7 days ago Blake Shin didn't go around one horse when hugging the plastic in the NZB Kiwi, and that's exactly what he's done here with Waitak.
Yeah, it was some win, but yeah, what a ride by Ryan, you know, just, he sort of was a long way off them, and it was certainly the winning of the race, but, you know, he seemed to win with a fair bit in hand, you know, so I'm, you know, Andrew and I and all the team, we're just thrilled for the owners. You know, they've been plagued with bad luck all through the season. The horse has been running terrific, but good to see him today get his chance and do what he did. He's super versatile, and you know, we sort of run out of options with him running over the short trips, and he just was, the tracks were a little bit too firm for him, so that's why Andrew and I elected to run him further. But yeah, look, just a great result today.
They're fanning wide today. There's not many horses going wide and making up ground, so we tried our luck and it paid off. They're travelling fine. He's a big old horse, he breathes well, he gets in his rhythm, he finds his stride, he just needs a bit of air and away he goes.
Geez, that shot there just shows you how quickly he went straight past them, Waitak. As I said, before that vision played, he had been pretty unlucky in a few starts and been out of the winner's circle for more than a year, but he gets it done. Joining us now is co-trainer from Wexford, Lance O'Sullivan. Lance, thanks very much for jumping on your Sunday morning. What was the overriding emotion for you to see him get back in the winner's circle, considering, I suppose, everything that had played out with him over the last year or so?
Yeah, good morning, team. Yeah, look, the team at Wexford, we were just delighted to see him do that. He's really taken over the mantle of the stable favourite now, with old Dragon Leap being retired, so he's commonly known as George around the yard. But it's just good to see him do that. He certainly deserved to win a nice race during the season with the way he's been going. And we're delighted for the owners and everybody involved.
We know what the ride was, Lance. It was an incredible ride by Ryan Elliott. Talk me through the pre-chat. Were there any instructions from yourself to Ryan? And obviously they were executed to perfection.
Oh, look, Emily, the ride was 10 out of 10, probably 11 out of 10. It was so good. But, look, Ryan, Andrew and I chatted to him before the race. We all spoke about the advantage to be sort of along the inside and try and come through them. We tried to circumnavigate them. They just weren't winning like that on the day. So he was certainly going to have to ride them for luck, and he certainly got plenty of that. But when you look at the way he actually won, maybe he actually won. He was going good enough. He may have been able to go around them. But, it was certainly some ride. He made it look very easy, Ryan, so well done to him.
I know Ryan's not a jockey who rides for Wexford stables very often, but just tell me about that relationship. I read post-race that he's been coming in and riding a little bit of work. Is that a relationship that potentially could develop?
Oh, look, absolutely, Emily. Andrew and I, we like to reward anybody who comes in and rides work. We like to put them on and give them the opportunity, and that's what we've done pretty much all through this season. And hence, Kevin Stott was coming across, and George Rook and a few of those boys. With Ryan, you look at Ryan's record as a jockey. He wins those races. He wins a lot of very big races. He's a heavyweight jockey. But Andrew and I decided, probably about 6 weeks ago, if we can get him, let's try and utilise his ability. And he came across. He's been riding a little bit of work, and certainly would be you'd be more than happy to put him on in the future going forward.
Bear with me, Lance. I do actually have a question here, but I just want to highlight this horse's versatility. He was placed at Group 1 level as a 2-year-old over 1,400 metres. He then went on a New Zealand and Queensland Derby path where he was stakes placed at a mile in 2,000 metres. As a 4-year-old, he wins a Group 1 1,200 metre race, goes to a quokka. Where does he sit in terms of a preferred distance or where he goes now? He just seems to be a horse that can do everything and has done from a 2-year-old right the way through to his 5-year-old season.
When you look at what he's done in his record, you think, gee, what are the trainers doing here? But he's extremely versatile. And we're looking at the program booklet going forward, Andrew and I, this morning. And, now we've got to step him up to 2,000 metres, and probably the Awapuni Gold Cup is probably where we will head with them now. It's set weight and penalty. The Easter this year, I understand, is a handicap. It'd be nice if it was run under the same conditions as what yesterday's race was, but I don't think it is. So we'll step him up to 2,000. Look, he finished second over 2,100 metres in the Avondale Guineas, beaten a lip by Desert Lightning. So, he's pretty versatile. He looked yesterday like he would run the 2,000. We think he will.
Do you have a gut feeling about where his preferred distance lies?
It's probably a mile. If we had to sort of put your head on your block and say, what do you, look, he won earlier on over 1,200. It was just, circumstantial why he was running in a race like the Railway early on. We've tried to keep him at the shorter trips, and he's just showing every time he wants to go further. Last 2 starts, we've stepped him up to the 1,500, then the mile. We think he'll run the 2,000, but, it's just one of those horses who can do anything.
Lance, a good day for Team Wexford yesterday. Grande Gallo, of course, was another winner on the day. Just tell me about this one, and a great ride again to pierce through runners and get home.
Yeah, it was a pretty fearless sort of a ride by George Rook, and that was certainly the winning of the race. He probed for a run in between them where there wasn't a lot of room. So, you like to see your jocks do that. But she's starting to really fashion a very good record. She hasn't had many starts, and what was that, her 5th or 6th win, somewhere around there. She's a 4-year-old mare now. We'd like to certainly try and get black type with her. We have a feeling that she's better going the right-handed way around as opposed to going left, and the opportunities are limited. We're looking at the race down at Waitak. I think it's the old Napier Sprint. I forget what they used to call it or what it's called now, but it's a listed race, run over 1,200 metres. Whether we head there or not, we're just not too sure, but it certainly looks a likely target, but we have to bear in mind we think she's better going right-handed.
Yeah, you've thought enough of her to run her in 1,000 guineas and a Caraca Million 3-year-old. obviously you've got a stakes target now. Just looking at her record and the fact that she's still in work and you're going to push on, is she also a mare that just prefers to get her toe in the track a little bit as well?
Yeah, Jane, absolutely. That's her caper. And you know, yesterday, we did late scratcher at Counties 2 or 3 starts back, and yesterday, when the track was, I think, given out as a 5, Andrew and I were happy to run, but it was sort of the beginning of the day. It had been a 4. You know, we would have sort of given it a second thoughts, but she certainly does like to get a toe in, and that's why I think, she's only had, 3 runs this time in. So she's still got a fair bit of racing going forward into the season. But as I say, we really want to try and get that black type with her.
Lance, you had a great day on track yesterday, but we saw in our little intro there that there were some probably pretty good mates of yours hanging around as well with a jockey reunion there at Tauranga. Did you get to catch up with many of them, and how enjoyable was that?
Yeah, I certainly did, and look, it was very enjoyable. Look, congratulations to Noel Harris and his wife Kylie. I think they were the instigators in putting it all on, and I think they had 180 or 190 people actually turn up. And I looked at them all and I thought, geez, a lot of these old jocks are getting old. But then I went home and had a look in the mirror and I thought, well, I'm not far behind them. But it was certainly good to catch up with them. And you see a lot of those old jocks. When I was riding against, like your Peter Timms and your Gary Grills, Earl Harrison, and of course Noel and many others. And it was just great to see them all. And they talked about the most fair jockey that we all rode against at the time, and I think it came up unanimously, 100%. It was still Peter Timms. So he was one of those jocks back in the day that he was fearless, and it was certainly great to catch up with him.
Lance, before we let you go, just one more question around your NZB Kiwi horses, those 3-year-olds. What are the plans with them from here? Where do you go with them?
Hanky Up has gone to the paddock for 2 weeks, and we hope to get her back and run her in the Cambridge Breeders' Stakes. Sought after has gone back to Waikato Stud, and look, there's chat that he may go to Australia and continue racing there, which he's certainly going to get his opportunity there, and he's good enough to go and to go to a stable there. And we'll certainly, if he does go there, we'll certainly be following his career with a lot of interest. Hopefully they'll bring him back and run him in the 4-year-old race here, and we'll get him back for that. Checkmate, he will run on the Rosehill Guineas next week. So he'll go across there. Blake Shin's been booked to ride him, so that gives us a bit of confidence. And of course, Sathedo, look, there's a possibility she may take a place in the Wellington Guineas next week. That's sort of maybe where we're heading. There was talk about running her in the Vinery, but we may go the Rosehill Guineas and either head to Adelaide or to Brisbane. We just got to finalise that with Gary Chittick this week. But that's pretty much it for them. All of them came through unscathed. They pulled up well, which is certainly a big tick. Great to hear that news, mate. Well done on your job yesterday with the Wexford team. And trust me, you haven't aged a day. Thanks for your time. Cheers, guys. Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Emily. Good man. Lance O'Sullivan there out of the Wexford stable. Rightio. Let's take a look further at the Japan Trophy. Won by Waitak from Herbert, Agon and Wild Knight. And as I said, just the way he finished off the race was superb, but there was a lot that went into this.
Look, I think the race probably set up for him in the fact there was a horse like Leroy Brown in the field who we knew was going to go forward and run them along. He certainly did that. He strung the field out. Not only did he do that, he rolled off the rail in the home straight, which allowed Waitak a clean run up the inside. Look, a little bit going on in the race, Emily. Navigator sat wide without cover throughout the running. Dionysus was an interesting runner. He obviously didn't come away from the barriers cleanly, got back, really didn't put himself in the race at any point. A little bit to take out of it from a veterinary point of view. Navigator had a slow recovery rate. Butterfield, cardiac arrhythmia, so there were some excuses for a few runners. Agon, again, a little bit unlucky in the home straight, a bit of a story of his life. But the ride won the race at the end of the day.
Completely. You can see obviously Waitak back at the tail of the field, and instead of sort of making his way out to the middle of the track, Ryan's elected to stay in, and that's just been the winning of the race. This is what I put some credit on Wild Knight's performance, because it was spoken about throughout the day that there was a couple of fast lanes, sort of 1-2 off the rail. Wild Knight's had to make a long sustained run down the middle of the track. He's made good ground and got home well, and I think you'll see some nice improvement out of him, and perhaps not the most favourable position on the track. Agon was sort of cluttered up in between runners. I don't think he was ever completely blocked for a run, but he certainly was in amongst the runners. And as you said with Navigator, brave again, because was 3 wide with no cover for a lot of the running. Herbert ran another really good brave race, and I don't think another win is too far away for him. Waitak's obviously a Group 1 winner of a railway, so Herbert certainly a lot of merit in his performance to have closed off to a good second.
Yeah, he was prominent in the running. He did a lot of work chasing down the leader too, Herbert, so brave in defeat. But look, I agree with you. Outside of the winner, in terms of Waitak, I thought it was quite a dominant performance. But Wild Knight was the horse that's obviously bounced back from an Australian campaign that really didn't go the way they hoped it would. As we heard from Lance and from Ryan on the day, you mentioned it, coming wide and making up ground was difficult at Tauranga. So Wild Knight was probably the run for me in behind the winner of that.
439 days it was since Waitak's last win. That was the Japan Trophy, but we can hear from the beaten jockeys first with Harry Grace on board Herbert.
I thought it was a great run. Unfortunately, I had to drag him into it today, but brilliant effort, just ran into a really nice horse. I think he's going to improve next year to come. He's still got a bit to do.
Yes, super run. Look, he couldn't muster up early, got way out of his ground. Obviously, the pace was on. From where he come from today, the way they're racing was a very big effort. Yeah, nice run.
Yeah, good honest run. Dropping back to the mile today. Got a nice run in transit midfield. He worked into it good, and he's just sort of flattened out a bit. But I think they're looking for going towards the Awapuni Gold Cup, so back up to triple suit him.
That was the beaten jockeys out of the Japan Trophy. Waitak from Herbert, Agon and Wild Knight. Alrighty, we might take a quick break, I think, out of the first section of weigh-in. On the other side, Leith catches up with some jockeys out of Tauranga.
You got the way to numbing the pain. Hey, hey, reunited and it feels so good. Reunited 'cause we understood there's one perfect thing.
Harry, it's great to be here, and look, obviously you and your wife Kylie, you've put this all together, and a couple of bit of help from Shorty Harrison, Chris Waller. Can you just tell us what a great event to have so many legends in one room together?
Yeah, you wouldn't read about it, Leith. You know, I didn't think this would be possible, but yeah, with the back end of Kylie, pushing it forward, but after David Sullivan passed away, and Shorty and myself said, Jesus, you know, sitting in together for a funeral, how about we have a Hurley? And I said, that would be great, and not thinking that it was possible, but yeah, with Kylie behind us, this is going to happen, and I'm pleased it did.
Here's a couple of legends. Well, one legend. Shorty Harrison, good to see you.
Hello, Leith. How are you?
Kevin Morton, you were a jockey?
Well, better than you, mate. I'll give you the tip.
How many Group 1s did you have?
We'd had none in the South Island, mate. Be gentle.
Hey, great cause, great turnout as well, guys. And have you backed a winner to you today?
Well, I'll probably back more than you've picked. I'll give you the tip.
Looking at the crowd here, you guys look like one of the youngest guys in here.
Yeah, that probably won't last. The next reunion, if they have another one, will probably be the older ones.
There's a few old faces in this jockeys room, or ex-jockeys here, retired jockeys. Who were you really scared of when you were out there, when you were riding?
That one there, his name's Ron Taylor. I was terrified of him. And Chris McNabb wasn't much better either.
What about you, Snooze?
Kevin Morton, probably. But he was good to follow in a race because he made the gaps.
Mr. Taylor, look, just asked a couple of true champions, Nigel Tiley and Paul Richards, Noel Harris. They say that you were they were really scared of you back in the day.
So they should be. I was a good rider.
Yeah, I know that. Hey, look, we've got here Greg Charles, obviously Sunline's #1 jockey. Hey, look, you had 11 Group 1 wins on her, and a lot of people don't know this, but every time they nominate her in a race, the fields come out, she wasn't scratched once. Why was she so tough?
Well, because Trevor McKee was a great trainer, and Stephen. It was a team effort. Sunline was a tough, good horse, and Trevor, with all his experience, knew how to place her, placed her well, and you're right, she never scratched. When she was nominated and accepted, she always ran, and she ran well, and I had a great career on her.
The Melbourne Cup winning jockey, 1971, Bruce Marsh. You ran second in 72 as well.
Yeah, it's great.
Have you ever had a better highlight? I know you were only 21 when you won the Cup, but have you ever had a better highlight being a trainer?
I think almost said my highlight of training or watching training is Stephen Marsh winning the big ones last week. That was a highlight.
Probably the favourite one was Miss Potential because she had bloody one straight leg and won 3 Group 1s after breaking a leg.
You remember the Magi where I gave you sort of 8-length head start and picked you up and beat you quite easy in the end on the post, Starcraft. Remember that?
I'm not allowed to swear on TV, but to be fair, between Starcraft and Excellent, it cost me about $120,000 in 2 years at that carnival down there. Run into 2 freaks. Hey, look, great to see them, but I just wish it wasn't the year that I was on the second one.
Hey, and obviously the best horse you've ridden is Excellent. The Melbourne Cup, you ran 3rd, 2005. The lead-up race, the Cox Plate. Just want to ask you a question. When they said take off at the school, the Mooney Ponds Primary School, what was on that day?
I think there was some sports over there, and I wanted to go over and take a closer look. And there was they were playing some sports over there. So everybody remembers your bad rides. Malcolm Johnson, Melbourne Cup, me, Excellent, and the Cox Plate.
It's great to see many old faces here.
Oh God. Gee, some of them are that old I can't put names to them. That's not on camera, is it?
Oh, how good is that? A real who's who of New Zealand jockey history, and outstanding from Noel and Kylie to put that sort of thing together. I do feel like in life sometimes you wait too long to catch up with people that you've had such a long association with, but geez, that was nice.
Oh, I didn't know Leith was so talented. Roving Leith on the microphone. He was the perfect person to go in there and have a chat to some of the jockeys he obviously rode against in his career and admired growing up. So, look, a fantastic event and nice to see them all get together.
And I think you can see the real friendships and deep connections from the jockeys room that have spanned over the years, the way they give each other stick and they take it back, and you can see that through Lee's interview, the perfect person to have done that. But kudos to Noel and Kylie for putting it together. 180 people or something close to that they got. Fantastic turnout, and obviously was well overdue.
Yeah, too right. Absolutely it was. Well done to everyone there, and thank you very much for giving up your time as well to be able to give us a little bit of a inside piece into what it was like yesterday for you all there. Alrighty, let's stay at Tauranga for another race at least. This was the Tauranga 3-year-old on their program, won by Love Poem, Stephen Marsh Quinella, and there was about 6 lengths back to the 3rd horse.
Yeah, look, a great performance by his 2 fillies. An interesting race from the barrier. There was plenty that wanted to push forward, so there was a little bit going on in that first furlong when they settled. Look, I'm All In found the lead. Love Poem sat outside, and that's exactly the way the racing finished in concluding stages. Look, tough, both of them, because they went to war down the home straight, Emily, and Love Poem came out on top. But of course, she was fresh up this preparation. We saw what she's already done as an early 3-year-old. She's obviously got a fair bit of talent.
Yes, she sure has. She ran in both the guineas, didn't she? The 2,000 guineas and the 1,000 guineas. She was placed and then finished, I think it was 4th in the 1,000 guineas. So she's obviously got a huge amount of ability. Good training effort to have her fit enough to go to war fresh up like that and come out on top, because she certainly had to dig deep to get the result. I know Connections are pretty keen to get her across the Tasman and begin a nice little campaign there. From what I understand, I think they're heading towards the PJ Bell in 3 weeks in in Sydney over the 1,200 metres, and there's a nice 1,400 metre race for her after that. And you'd think, based off what she's done, there'd be some good improvement in her. She's from a lovely family. She's got a fabulous pedigree, a half-sister to Estriella, and the first down Madrigals is a full sister to Piero. So there's plenty of depth in terms of pedigree. She's a daughter of Snitzel. So if they can get a stakes win in Australia, she is such a good addition to that Elsdon Park broodmare band.
Yeah, she's already quite a valuable broodmare commodity, but it just obviously a little bit of X factor when you've got some Australian black type on the page as well. Outside of the winner and the second place horse, who obviously pulled away from the remainder of the field, I thought there were a couple of okay runs in behind it as well. Alteri was hampered at the start, got back, was a long way out of its ground. I thought made up really nice ground in the home straight. And Sister Ping, she was fresh up. She sort of started to wind into the race, and I think maybe just peaked on her run a little bit. Fitter second up, I think she can really improve coming out of the race.
And our Bluebell was also interfered with at the straight and couldn't be ridden to the lines. I Am Nuts, another who closed it off nicely. So I think whilst the first two home are really good, two really good horses, there's some nice runs in behind with horses that can win pretty quickly off that race.
So it was Love Poem from I'm All In, Texas Hold'em and Jade Dragon. Moving down country a little bit to Whanganui on the other coast as well, on the west coast. This is the Whanganui Open 2,040 metres won by Orlov.
Yes, lovely performance by Orlov. Just looking through the race, obviously, there was that mid-race move from Christelle aboard Heart of Gold. He just sort of injected a bit of speed into the race. Whilst Orlov didn't go with him, he certainly just began to move through his gears, stoked the horse up to the turn and was able to get up over the top pretty comfortably. Just niggled along and won it nicely. For David Howarth, this was quite a significant day yesterday. Only got the 5 horses in work at the moment, and importantly, that milestone, I think just 5 or 4 wins, 5 away from the 500. So really nice result for him. Gave the second horse 6 kilos in the handicap, so won that race fair and square, and obviously has the form around Whangehu previously, so some nice form references for Orlov.
Yeah, second in the Wanganui Cup, and look, I think he's sort of making his mark as quite a nice stayer, particularly in the Central District's ranks. Kate obviously used that move by Christelle to her advantage. I didn't mind the run of Duncan's Creek in behind. He just getting out over ground the first time, he just did a few things wrong, over-raced a little bit in those early stages. He actually looked gone at the top of the straight, and he rallied again and found to run into third. So I thought his run was quite good in behind too. But as you mentioned, wonderful result for David Howarth, a double on the day for him and Kate Hercock.
There was another feature on the card, and it was the 2-year-olds. This was won by War Princess from Cashla Bay, Our Sniper and Ensign Aria. 2 from 2 now for War Princess, and building a nice little start to her career.
Great result for US Navy Flag too, who cornelled the race with Cashla Bay finishing into second. What we saw from this particular 2-year-old was just a really professional display. She jumped cleanly out of the barriers. She put herself in the race, travelled nicely, railed well, and just showed a really clean pair of heels in the home straight. I thought there was some merit to Cashla Boy game in the chase behind War Princess, but she cleared away from the rest of the field and did it with ease. I do know, speaking to trainer Peter Didham, that when she actually went to the races on debut, it was the stablemate that they expected to win the race. And even though she was a filly with a little bit of ability, he was actually quite surprised by what she did on debut for the stable, considering they did actually rate the stablemate a little bit higher. So it looks like that she's bounced out of that first up victory and really gone on with it, given what we saw from her yesterday.
She's doing it all with ease, isn't she? I know Connections mentioned after the race that they just don't quite know what they've got because the bar keeps being lifted and she keeps delivering. So a good bit of excitement within the Didham camp, I think, with regards to what this horse could be. I know they've mentioned that if she pulls up okay, it's onto the sires, which is the natural move for a 2-year-old showing ability, bred by Don and Dame Wendy Pye, so a nice result for them too. And as you mentioned, I think Cashla Bay was pretty good in behind what could be quite a nice horse.
We'll take a look at that sires produce market shortly, but there were a few horses that ran both yesterday at Tauranga in terms of track, bit of track work, and also at Matamata on Wednesday. Let's take a look at that first down at Matamata. Tajana beating the hot favourite here, Hostility, but she certainly had the form behind her, finishing second to to return to conquer, and also not far behind Lucy in the Sky as well.
Well, she brought that form into the race, didn't she? And we saw what Return to Conquer did at Group 1 level last weekend during the Champions Day here in New Zealand. So she had the right form coming into the race. And again, I thought just a really professional display. Jumped really well out of the barriers, settled into a nice handy position, got the split when she needed it, and it accelerated. And again, we saw the first two pull away from the remainder of the field. It was nice, Emily, to see Hostility live up to his reputation in some way, given the fact that he was a record breaker at the Ready to Run sales. There'd been a lot of hype around him, and he was able to perform nicely.
Yeah, he'll take some good improvement from that too, obviously with that being a debut performance. So I think there's more in store for Hostility. Certainly don't jump off the ship already, but Tajana, it's hard to beat a Te Akau horse at their home track, and Tajana has done that. And from the Sean Ritchie, Colin Murray stable, they've indicated that the size is where they want to go, and they feel like she'll only improve over a little bit further. So another nice horse to add into the mix of the size, which is coming together as an intriguing contest.
And as I mentioned, there were some gallops yesterday at Tauranga as well, featuring a quartet of Te Akau runners. We had Lazzura and Celestial Wonder. First up, Lazzura obviously was sadly scratched out of the Sistema Stakes, but looks like she will surge on towards the size produce.
Yeah, it was a great shame actually to see her out of that run last week on Champions Day, because we know what a tough and honest filly she is. I think it'll be good to see her back at the size if they can do that. Here's a couple of other really nice horses, and just adding to that the depth that Te Akau takes to the size, and we know how good they are with their 2-year-olds, so they're going to head to the race with some certainly nice horses.
Alrighty, let's hear from Sam Burgesson from Te Akau after those gallops.
Yeah, Lazzura obviously was a real shame last Saturday, spiking the temperature, and thankfully she bounced back in a few days. And we're playing catch up now to get to the Manawatu size. So a good solid piece of work. Grillsy rode her. Really pleased they rattled off some good times, and she seems to have pulled up well. So fingers crossed, you know, she goes the right way from this, and we can get her to the Manawatu size down there at Trentham in 2 weeks' time. We think she'll be a massive chance, especially off her previous performances. And Celestial Wonder, she's coming up well. Fortunately, had a bit of a wind issue following Wanganui, so she's had, you know, a bit of a break off the scene. Had a nice trial and a nice exhibition gallop now, and could head to Manawatu size day for just a 3-year-old race down there. But yeah, really pleased with both pieces of work.
And then the next two were Born to be Royal and to Bravery Born.
Yeah, both heading to the size as well. To Bravery Born, we just think, you know, he went that really good race at Ellerslie really fresh, so we kept him really fresh for the Manawatu size, hoping that's the winning formula. And Born to be Royal, just sort of nursing her along to the Manawatu size as well. Good sort of gap between runs, just the nice hit out here to keep them up to the mark. She doesn't carry a heap of condition, but a galloper with, you know, plenty of natural speed, and looks a lovely horse going forward, and both work nicely. So really pleased with how they've pulled up and onwards and upwards to 2 weeks' time.
Well, here is that market for the Manawatu size produce stakes. Lazzura right there at the top at $2.80. No real surprise there. Hostility is at $6 to cap it all. Tajana, who we just saw beat Hostility at 8. It's shaping up as a really, really nice race.
There's actually a couple that I like further down the page that represents a little bit of value at the moment. Born to be Royal, certainly one of that. I think she's a filly that's going to relish the 1400 metres, and I thought her work looked particularly good at Tauranga yesterday. And Landlock, he was impressive in the way that he found the line in the Group 1 at Ellerslie. He's been to Trentham before, he knows the track, and I think he's another one that's stepping up to 1400 metres is really going to suit. I understand why Lazzura is the short price favourite. She is the filly, Emily, that's been there and done that, and she's got the wins on the board, but she does have to stretch out to 1400 metres.
Yeah, and we've seen in recent years with the Manawatu size produce that this latter part of the season, things changed considerably in terms of 2-year-olds, and those really natural, speedy types, they just can't quite get the 1400 metres at this age. So I do think there's some value to be found in that market, and I think it's a race that can, you know, it can throw up a surprise result, and look past just what you see on the surface, because you can definitely get some value. Landlockers just screaming to me, jump on, $8 is a really good price there. And as you said, some other really nice quality fillies that'll only, and colts and geldings that'll only benefit from the 1400.
That $8 might not last if I'm listening to these two this morning. Alrighty, we're going to take a quick break here on Weigh-In. On the other side, Emily catches up with a couple of British lads who have been riding pretty well over here. But firstly, we had a first-time winning jockey at Tauranga yesterday.
Hardeen and Sienna Brown looking for her first win. She's 4 lengths in front. Monday Melody starting to close. Hardeen needs the post, but it's home. Hardeen and Sienna Brown will get the win, her first win in her career, and what a way to do it. Sienna Brown on the horse owned by her parents, Tony and Nikki Brown, trained by Hannah Orting at Pukekohe Park, and Hardeen has absolutely bolted in.
I've been with her for a very long time, and I'm so grateful that she's my first one. It's really special. She always travels really fair, and she always gives you a really good feel, and she always tries. I saw the 600 and I didn't hear anything coming, and I was like, right, let's just get a leaf on them, and I did, and she was so good, yeah. I gave a little peek and I was like, oh, I'm clear, yeah.
And what did that moment feel like for you?
Yeah, really, yeah.
We're a long way from the UK, but we've come to Cambridge, New Zealand, to catch up with George Rook and Kevin Stott, and we thought, well, better way to get to know them than play a little bit of pool.
Told them you were living downtown, driving all the old men.
So I started through the British Racing School. It's a fantastic program which gives all sorts of kids an introduction into racing. I got the privilege to go to champion jockey Richard Hughes and sort of stayed there for 6 years. He's taught me everything I know, so I'm very thankful to him.
I came over to England when I was 16 from Denmark. That's where I'm originally from. I went straight in to ride out for a trainer called Kevin Ryan, who is based up north of England. The plan to just stay there for a couple of weeks to just get some experience, to then go down to the Newmarket Racing School to do a full 12 weeks course. Because I hadn't actually done much riding at all before I went to England. That Kevin Ryan really liked my riding, so I ended up just staying there and got loads of experience that way. A year and a half later, I got my licence and started riding racing.
And what about a career highlight?
My Group 1 on the Limousine at Royal Ascot, that was pretty special, even though it was in lockdown at the time. There was no people there, but that's definitely a moment in my career where everything kind of went upwards.
How daunting was it to get on a plane, come to the other side of the world, and not really know what you were in for? Was that hard for both of you?
I got asked twice by 2 people, and I just sort of thought to myself and spoke to my parents, and they said, why not? And sort of just caught the flight without really thinking about it. I think if I thought about it, I think it might have just sort of overwhelmed me, but I'm thankful I did come.
Yeah.
I do miss a good roast dinner on a Sunday though.
With me coming with my partner, I was always going to be all right when it comes to trying to make friends or etc, you know, but like obviously knowing George was here was a massive help to, you know, like we talk about racing or, you know, riding track work and even like going racing together, stuff like that.
No, I'm very thankful Kevin and Neve, Kevin's partner, are here. Sort of just tag along with whatever they do. And
the third wheel.
Stay out of the way, take the pictures. My family are actually over at the moment. They weren't going to come, but my nan, she's always wanted to come. She's come as well, she's 87. It's always been on her bucket list. We got her on a jet boat yesterday. She's done a go whitewater rafting. Might try and get a Zor balling in Rotorua. No, she's loving her experience here, so that's very good. This table don't like me.
Have you had any struggle with the Kiwi accent? Any words that are a little different to at home? Have you become Kevin?
Yeah, like it was kind of a bit weird for me when I first came over. I was like, why are they saying it? Anyways, it is what it is. There's a few things that you kind of eat, I suppose, like over Christmas.
Crayfish.
Power.
Yeah. Whitebait.
Whitebait.
The seafood, yeah.
Whitebait fritters, isn't it?
Yeah.
What did you think of those, the little fish?
We have whitebait at home, don't get me wrong, but it was obviously, I'd never tried them like that. I liked them.
But we were saying at Christmas, it's a bit of a delicacy here, isn't it?
Put it this way, they don't pay as much for it at home as they do here for whitebait.
Mince and cheese pies?
George loves them. I can't really eat too many of them. We had a really good weekend.
Waiheke Island.
Waiheke Island.
Is that how you say it?
That's so nice, yeah, Waiheke.
Went and tried a bit of wine.
We probably wouldn't really drink wine in England. We only went to Mudbrick. We went in there, had a glass, and sort of stayed there till.
Nice.
We actually ended up staying the night.
Yeah.
Didn't we? It was actually Joe Doyle was there as well with his partner, and yeah, we ended up stayed the whole weekend there. It was quite good.
The whole country's beautiful. It's anywhere you go, there's always something to see. So, did you get that in?
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Definitely been very surprised with the quality of horse here.
Okay.
Only because of we wouldn't really hear much about New Zealand at home. You know, everything's always Australia and Hong Kong, and then you don't actually realise how many New Zealand bred horses go and win big races in Aussie and Hong Kong. So yeah, I've definitely been surprised about the quality of horse here, especially the proper good horses. Or I could say they could be very compatible in big races at home, which would be nice to find out if there would be certain owners willing to take horses to Europe. Would be quite interesting, I think.
I think they just need one owner to take a chance.
Yeah.
And take a good horse over, and I think you'd be very surprised.
I guess that segues quite nicely into what New Zealand could learn from UK racing.
Like the couple of tracks we have in England, they have a cutaway rail. I think a lot of the tracks here could probably be, you know, just.
I think it would work quite well here.
It would just give everyone a bit more of a chance, and I think that a lot of the trainers, owners, and etc. would kind of appreciate it, just because they know that their horse would get a fair chance if you actually end up 3 back on the rail or whatever. But I think I was a bit surprised about like the lack of 2-year-old races here, and I kind of thought that there would be a lot more, the trainers having a lot more 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing in England. I was quite surprised when I saw that, people would happily wait till they turn 3 and even 4 sometimes. You see a lot of these 4-year-olds, they haven't even ran yet. But then they've obviously trial loads where we don't have trials. So that would definitely be one thing I would like to have in England. We have had a few of them, but they would be more like jump outs than trials.
Have you had to change your riding styles?
For me, coming here is sort of very different, because I've always canted in a straight line, followed the horse in front, had time to think about the horse and tell the trainer.
Yeah, riding to time. I was going to say riding gallops to time.
I never thought counting to 15 was so hard in my life.
You're 0 at the mark, then 1.
Yeah, exactly. You got to count to 15 and then think about how you go and then keep it going. Took me a good month to get to grips with it.
Yeah. With a beep, you have a beeper though?
Yeah, I have a beeper, sleep with it. It's plastered in my brain now.
Yeah.
So everywhere I go, I count to 15 steps, 15 seconds before I take the shot.
What about people who've been important, helpful?
Brendan and Joe, the whole team at Cambridge Stud have been very, very good to me and my partner since we arrived. We were lucky enough to stay in the guest house for the first month we were here, just to get our everything sorted.
Yeah, for me, Rodney Schick was a big part of me coming over. He sort of said I can come over, he's got a place for me, which sort of made my mind up on coming, because that was one of the biggest things, accommodation. He took me down to Roger James's yard, met Roger James and Robert Wellwood, and they've supported me ever since. They've been absolutely brilliant to me.
The trainers and owners in general, I think that when you arrive into a country and no one kind of knows who you are, they have to put a bit of faith into trying to wanting to use you. And to be fair, we've been pretty lucky that everyone's kind of been good to us that way around, I suppose.
They didn't have to take a chance on us, and they have, and hopefully we can get them some big winners while we're here. But yeah, just looking forward to the future, really.
Is that a win for you?
Yeah, it's nice taking part.
Fantastic to have them here for starters, and great of you to catch up with them. A few things that I took out of that. One, George's 87-year-old nan went whitewater rafting, or is going whitewater rafting.
Yeah.
Good on her.
Yeah. Hope I'm doing that at 87.
Secondly, it took 4 minutes for them to sink a ball.
I think that was the editor's problem there. I'm not sure that was them.
And lastly, I didn't see you with a cue in your hand.
No,
What's going on?
I elected to just do the interviewing and not get involved in the pool. I need to give a special shout out, someone who wasn't shown there, a guy called Bevan Higgins, who owns the building where we shot that lovely piece, and he gave us a bar tab for after, which was very nice of him. The crew really appreciated that. So shout out to Bevan. He loves you, Jane. He told me to say hi to you.
Hi to Bevan too.
Yeah, no, it was good. And what a great addition to our jockey ranks they've both been, adding so much depth over that summer period. And long may that continue. We can get these top quality jockeys across to New Zealand, and that only spreads awareness of what we're doing in New Zealand. And as Kevin said, that our horses can compete on the world stage.
Yeah, to ride. I think very talented riders for starters. I think we've got some stats actually around how good they both have been in their success rates since they have been in New Zealand. You can see them there. What stands out for you guys?
Oh, look, I think both have been, you know, as we mentioned, great additions to the jockeys' ranks. They've really strengthened the jockeys' ranks. Look, in terms of the fact that they've based themselves in the north, they've been well supported by some of the really big stables, have respected what they've brought to New Zealand. I guess Kevin Stott winning on Grailseek is probably one of the stands out in terms of the performances that we've seen from both jockeys. But look, particularly when I arrived back in New Zealand, I think we really needed that in the jockeys' ranks. And what it does is it actually helps to improve competition, because it means that your domestic jockeys and local jockeys, they want to work harder and keep rising that bar. So I think it's good for everybody to have quality jockeys come in from overseas.
And of course, we've had the addition of Matt Cartwright to the jockeys' ranks this season. It makes a huge difference. And I think for them, just talking to them, you know, they were surprised that New Zealand racing could offer what it does, and the lifestyle as well, the ease of the lifestyle, how you don't have to ride every single day as you do in the UK, a real plus as well. But even for our big race meetings, Australian jockeys coming over to take advantage of prize money and quality horses, it only adds to the drama, the excitement, the quality of racing that we're seeing here in NZ.
Just before we move on to the Australian racing that we'll get to shortly, I think Kevin's gone home now. His partner's having a baby. Is he planning to return? What did he say to you about that?
I'm not 100% sure. There was a mention that he said that he would be back, but whether they want to have the baby in the UK, I'm not entirely sure. But certainly hope that we can see him and his partner Neve back here for another season would be great.
Yeah, let's hope we certainly do see that. Alrighty, as I say, moving on to some Australian racing now, and it was a big day over there. Obviously, the Coolmore Classic. I think we can start with the Group 1 for the fillies and mares, and Lady Shenandoah, she seems to be something pretty special.
Yeah, she's the winner of the Flight Stakes through the spring. She's come back this preparation unbeaten, picked up the Group 1 Surround last start, and she's beaten the older mares now, carrying I think 54.5 kilos, which hasn't been done for quite some time. She got herself a little bit worked up pre-race, which was really interesting. She hasn't been a filly that's typically done that. James McDonald perhaps said it was down to the fact that it was her home track. Perhaps she's at the end of her prep, not sure. He also made the comment that she was all out late, and it was just a bit of courage that got her across the line. But I genuinely think she's an incredibly exciting horse for Australia at the moment, Lady Shenandoah, and I think she'll get better with age when she strengthens, fills out her frame a little bit more, and I think the team will probably lean towards sprinting races with her going forward. I just want to highlight Firestorm, who finished into second. From where she came in the field and the ground that she made up late, I thought it was a phenomenal effort. Obviously New Zealand bred, I think she's got a little bit more in store for her. I think she's nominated for maybe a Doncaster and a Queen of the Turf going forward. Not sure which way the team are going to go with her, but I thought a superb run for her to finish second.
Yeah, huge, my Lady Shenandoah. What's that, 5 in a row? And I think the key thing about the Coolmore was that she wasn't entitled to win. If she hadn't have won, you would have said, oh, well, there are excuses, we'll go again another day, or she needs to spell. But she does keep winning, and that's what good horses do. You mentioned Firestorm, certainly a watch over further, as Jane said. And Lady of Camelot, I think the draw just cost Lady of Camelot, but can she beat Lady Shenandoah? Well, we've seen multiple times that Lady Shenandoah is the better, and echoing Jane's sentiments around the trip, I think once she fills out into that big frame, she's going to drop back to the sprinting distances, but the future's very, very bright.
No shame in finishing second and third to a horse like Lady Shenandoah. I think, and Chris Waller mentioned at the very start of the show, he did make a comparison to Winx. He did say that Winx wasn't doing this sort of thing at that age, but I think Winx certainly got better with age and proved to be an absolute freak.
Oh, certainly did. There's no doubt about that. But look, Chris has actually got some great fillies on his hands at the moment. We're going to see that obviously with the Phar Lap, but Autumn Glow returns to the races next weekend, which is highly exciting. You've got an incredibly talented filly in Victoria at the moment, Treasure the Moment, who was the Oaks winner, who's come back this preparation, been winning at 1,200 metres, 1,400 metres, sorry. So she looks like one out of the box. And then even adding into the mix our very own Like a Lucy, who's a 3-year-old filly that's been doing incredible things this preparation. So there's a lot to look forward to. It's a strong crop of 3-year-old fillies.
I reckon, you know, you always go, where's the next Winx? Where is she coming from? There won't be another Winx. Well, there might be, but I think it's
we said that about Black Caviar,
yeah.
and then Winx came along.
Yeah.
So look, that horse is out there. It's just a matter of the next time we see them.
And appreciating what Winx did, that it is so hard to do. I mean, what she managed to do is, you know, once in a lifetime that we'll see that. But certainly if the next one's there, we want to jump on the bandwagon and enjoy the success and the excitement, that's for sure.
If the next one's there, we'll take it, that is for sure. Jane mentioned the Phar Lap Stakes. Let's get to that. The Group 2, won by Lazzura.
Look, this race was run at a dawdling speed. They crawled throughout the running, which meant that it was a sit and sprint, and they ran incredibly fast. Last 600, Lazzura clocked under 33 seconds for the last 600 on the day. So they were running some really slick times at Rose Hill yesterday. I thought just really nice for this horse, Emily, because in a way she's played bridesmaid to a couple of those really smart fillies. Lady Shenandoah, certainly one of them. She was probably pleased she didn't see the back end of her in the Phar Lap yesterday, and the fact that she was scratched out of that and they elected to run in the Coolmore. But she had her day in the sun, and I think it was great for the horse and great for the horse's confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more. I think it's the confidence, isn't it, that you can do it on your own and you are good enough. Interesting stat around the Phar Lap Stakes for Chris Waller. In the last 10 years, Chris Waller's prepared 8 of those victories. So Fox Play, Very Elegant, Fun Star, Hungry Heart. He's used this race a lot. Indicated that Lazzura will go to the Queen of the Turf, and obviously put in the race early and it was all over. But certainly those horses, previous winners for Chris, have gone on to win Group 1. So Lazzura is on a path that could result in that.
And I think important to mention too that there are a couple of fillies running in the race that had come out of New Zealand, and that was Real Class, obviously, and Moving Out. Moving Out, who was placed in our 1,000 guineas. She's now in the Yulong ownership. I thought her run was incredibly eye-catching. She was taken back from the draw. Chris had already said pre-race that she was a staying filly. They weren't expecting her to be too sharp. She'd just be running on and hitting the line, obviously on an Oaks preparation. But off that slow speed, for her to get as close as what she did and be travelling so well through the line, I think she finished 4th. I thought a really eye-catching run when you're looking ahead to an Oaks.
Well, that wraps up what happened in Sydney. Let's get over to Melbourne, or south to Melbourne, and take in Pride of Jenni. Now, Pride of Jenni obviously retired for a short time. They brought her back and she raced like she always does.
Just an incredible story, isn't it? She has the heart of a lion. Of course, she bled in the Group 1 VRC Champions Mile, and for everybody, that was sort of the end of her career. What a great horse, reigning Australian Horse of the Year, etc., etc. She's back, and she's not just back, she's back and actually winning races. That's how tough she is. Just seeing her back in her customary role there of leading and running her rivals into the ground, I'm sure that's a victory that'll sit with the connections for a long time.
Of course, bred by Trawley Stud. She might not have the NZ suffix, but we can claim her because she was bred by Kiwi breeders. I thought Craig Newitt's post-race analysis was just superb after this race. He purposely stayed away from the rail on her, let her build into her gears out of the barrier, kept her off the rail, just allowed her to be her and do what she did. And the key for him was that if she was going to be vulnerable late, she needed to have that break on the field. And that's exactly what he did on her. And in fairness, he felt like she was really strong through the line. So that's a pretty good sign going on to an Australian Cup. What a training feat. She had never, like we look at her record, she'd never won a race fresh up previously in her entire career. Stepped out to 1,800 metres, first up in a preparation and fit enough to put on that sort of display. So Kieran Maher, hat goes off to you. We know what he can do with these horses. So I thought that was fantastic. Zardozi, she got back in running. She actually ran the fastest last splits of the day, 6:42. So she's on track, getting back to Flemington, a track that she likes, ahead of the Australian Cup.
What you say about the Kieran Maher stable, I mean, we just take it for granted that he can produce horses like that win, but the analysis, the data they have, the way they can compare Pride of Jenni from last preparation to this preparation as to how she's coming up and how fit she is, just such deep analysis and research into these horses that they can produce a performance like that. So kudos to them and to their team.
Staying at Caulfield, we also saw a good win for expat Kiwis, Emily and David Brown.
I thought this was a great moment of the day, and just to see the excitement and what it meant to Emily and David Brown and the connections of this horse. They paid $14,000 for this horse at the English Premier Sales by I'm Immortal, sold by Stonehouse Thoroughbreds, and Ryan Arnold made a comment that Emily and David, or Emily in particular, was the only person at the sales that came back and saw this horse on multiple occasions. And I thought she was brilliant post-race, saying, I just loved him, I loved his long legs. And look, sometimes that's all it takes, is you see a horse, you like them, you take a risk on them. And obviously you're not perfect, horses aren't perfect when you're spending $14,000 on them, but to then turn him around as second start of his career and win $1 million race, so great for them. They're establishing themselves in Australia. They've only been there for a couple of years, and horses like him will do wonders for their stable. So a really incredible moment.
And a stable like that, that money is directly impacting horses they could buy in the future. It's just great vision of them post-race. That was the family, Emily and David's daughter and David and Emily there, and all celebrating. That's what it's all about, a special family moment.
Too right. Well done to them all. We've got to get to a quick break here on Weigh In. We'll be back on the other side. Thanks for being with us on Weigh In. We've pretty much run out of time, so we're going to get straight into our moments of the week. Emily?
I'm going with I Wish I Win, returning to the pastures of Waikato Stud. Great to see him coming back a champion.
I thought Pride of Jenni in the training feet run, that was just wonderful. But I do think people should take in as much as they can from weekend racing in terms of reading and looking at replays, because there were some amazing moments and stories. Vauban, Tatsumaki, Waitak, Pride of Jenni, obviously Emily and David Brown. There was so much going on, and we haven't been able to cover even half of it. So many wonderful stories over the weekend.
Should have stretched it out to an hour and a half again like last week. My moment of the week was Sienna Brown winning her first race aboard Hadid in the last at Tauranga. Her parents own the horse, so a lovely family moment as well. So well done to everyone involved in that. Look at the grin across her face. And my Weight Watcher comes out of that race. It is Monday Melody. I know did finish second and was a pretty well-backed favourite, but made decent ground after being a long, long way back. So that's my Weight Watcher for the week.
I've gone with Altari as my Weight Watcher. I think you had to be blind to miss him, but he missed the start. He got back, he was blocked for a run, and then he's worked home really nicely in the closing stages. Watch for next time. I'm going to book coverage on Friday, 10 foot tall. A 3-year-old filly by Stefanos on debut had to hand up the lead, and when it took some time to work into its gears, but its final 100 was its best 100, and it was blocked for a run in the closing stages. So down on the fence in the blue, should be winning a maiden very quickly.
Alrighty, there are our Weight Watchers, 10 foot tall for Jane, Monday Melody for me, and Altari for Emily. And we might have to get out of here because it sounds like Emily's about to cark it.
I am going to joke.
Great to have you both with us. Thank you very much for all your insight. As always, thank you for joining us. And we will see you again same time next week. Enjoy your week of racing. Oaks next weekend.